What if the screen you're staring at is the very padlock on a cosmic cage designed to harvest your soul? You've been hacked into a lifetime of artificial debt. But an ancient forbidden frequency just unlocked the ultimate loophole, and the elites are terrified you'll hear it. What if the very breath you just took wasn't a gift of life, but a perfectly engineered anesthetic? Look out your window. Those glittering stars, the vast expanse of the cosmos you call freedom, what if it is nothing but a meticulously designed, titanium-reinforced penitentiary, constructed so flawlessly that you actually fight to defend your own captivity? Have you ever felt that chilling sensation crawling down your spine when you sign a shiny new contract, take out a loan, or clock in for another endless shift? That quiet, screaming instinct whispering that you just traded a piece of your eternal soul for a temporary hit of oxygen? At Bible Tales US 07 warmly welcomes you to a journey beyond the veil of this grand illusion. If this truth resonates with the quiet rebellion waking up in your heart, please subscribe to our channel right now. Your support fuels our resistance, giving us the immense strength to keep broadcasting these crucial messages into the void and bringing you more profound stories that challenge the very fabric of reality. Now, let us dive into the darkness together. Listen to the rattling hum of the air filtration system on Sector 4. It moans like a dying beast in the endless vacuum of space. The air here is suffocating, thick with the metallic stench of burnt ozone and the unmistakable rot of long-dead hopes. Hiding in a shadowy corner of this miserable pit stop, suspended somewhere in a nameless asteroid belt, sits a solitary figure. He isn't some chiseled hero wielding a blazing plasma rifle. He is just a space cowboy, a drifter carrying the heavy, unseen scars of psychological warfare beneath a frayed, battered leather jacket. He is one of the hidden remnant, the forgotten souls carrying an ancient frequency that this artificial system brutally discarded. In his scarred hands, he holds a cup of coffee, or at least a pitch-black, agonizingly bitter sludge extracted from synthetic roots that passes for coffee in this god-forsaken era. He takes a slow sip. The scalding bitterness shreds his throat, raw and ruthlessly authentic. In this entirely fabricated existence, where everything from the breathable air to the water is sterilized, recycled, and fed back to you 1,000 times over, that sharp, unapologetic bitterness is the only fleeting sensation that reminds him he is still fundamentally alive. Look closely at him. Now, look past him, at your own reflection lingering on the reinforced glass. This crumbling space station isn't just a grim sci-fi backdrop. It is the bleeding reality of your everyday life. We exist in an exhausted, hollowed-out modern society where the gargantuan cogs of an invisible institutional machine grind our time, our energy, and our inherent freedom into cosmic dust. They force us onto an endless treadmill, making us run until our lungs bleed, simply to buy back just enough oxygen to survive until tomorrow. We drape ourselves in pristine corporate uniforms, sitting in brightly lit, sterile skyscrapers. Yet the internal suffocation we feel over paying bills and merely existing is no different from drifting aimlessly in the freezing, lightless vacuum of deep space. The cowboy closes his eyes. A dark, venomous irony courses through his veins. The ruling powers out there constantly masquerade as saviors. They claim to provide order. They dole out rationed resources. But in truth, they are doing nothing but hacking the activation codes of pure terror embedded deep within your psyche. They systematically suppress your vibration down to the most primal, desperate frequency of base survival, brainwashing you to believe that stepping outside their heavily guarded boundaries guarantees immediate death. But what if death isn't the most terrifying outcome? What if dragging through a hollow, decaying existence, living as a mindless, obedient cog in an automated wheel, is the ultimate life sentence? That cup of agonizingly bitter coffee tonight isn't just a stimulant to keep his heavy eyes open. It is a sacred ritual of remembrance. It violently awakens his most primal, untamed instincts, reminding him that while this corrupt system might have the power to choke off his physical oxygen, they can never, ever touch the magnificent, raw essence vibrating fiercely within his soul. That fierce vibration within his soul is exactly what draws the invisible hunters, but it is also the only reliable compass leading him toward an ancient, buried truth. The cowboy leaves the bitter dregs at the bottom of his cup and steps out of the dimly lit kiosk into the blinding, chaotic arteries of the station's commercial sector. Here, towering holographic advertisements bleed neon colors into the synthetic fog, promising artificial euphoria, chemical peace, and digital immortality for the right price of credits. It is a sensory bombardment designed specifically to jam your internal frequency. The crowds moving past him are a sea of hollow eyes, bathed in artificial blue light, their gazes locked onto datapads and neural feeds. They are terrified of silence. In this heavily monitored age, silence is the only space where you might actually hear the voice of the creator. And so the system ensures it is drowned out by a continuous, deafening roar of meaningless information. Beneath his heavy leather coat, pressed tightly against his chest, lies a relic that the ruling authorities have deemed a Class 1 biohazard. It is not a weapon of mass destruction, nor is it a piece of stolen corporate technology. It is a physical, paper book. Its pages are yellowed, fragile, and bound in cracked leather, holding words that were breathed into existence long before the first steel beam of this cosmic prison was ever forged. The authorities claim it is outdated mythology, dangerous psychological contraband that disrupts social harmony. But the drifter knows the reality. He has felt it. The words inscribed on those ancient pages are not mere text. They are a living, breathing frequency. When he reads them in the dead of the night, the heavy iron walls of his reality seem to thin, and the suffocating dread of the machine loses its grip on his mind. We look at this neon-soaked dystopia and think it belongs to a distant, unimaginable future. But we are already walking its streets. Look at the glowing rectangles we hold in our hands every waking second, the endless scrolls of curated outrage, the digital idols we bow down to for a fleeting hit of dopamine. We have willingly traded our direct, divine connection to the universe for a cheap, synthetic Wi-Fi signal. The system feeds us a steady diet of digital static to keep us entirely disconnected from our own spiritual heritage. The cowboy grips the book tighter against his ribs, feeling a strange, warming pulse radiating from it. He realizes that the greatest act of rebellion in a world entirely built on terrifying illusions is simply remembering who you actually are. He is not a biological battery meant to power their economic engines, and neither are you. We are the architects of a forgotten kingdom, carrying the very breath of God in our lungs, waiting for the exact right moment to exhale and tear this neon illusion to the ground. Clinging to that disruptive frequency, he navigates the lower, decaying levels of the station where the true, violent cost of this synthetic comfort is relentlessly extracted from the innocent. Down here, in the rusted bowels of Sector 4, away from the pristine corporate holograms, you find the debt merchants. They are not shadowy monsters with fangs. They are cold, calculating bureaucrats with glowing eyes and pristine white suits, operating behind layers of impenetrable algorithms. They deal in the most valuable currency in the known universe: human desperation. The drifter watches from the shadows as a young family is systematically stripped of their travel permits and rations, mathematically condemned to a lifetime of indentured servitude because of a hidden clause in a loan they took just to buy clean water. The system calls it a karmic balance, a necessary economic adjustment to maintain order. The cowboy knows the older, truer word for it. It is slavery. This is the grim engine of the empire. It does not just want your physical labor. It actively feeds on your spiritual despair. The elites who built this cosmic cage understand a fundamental, terrifying law of the universe. A soul weighed down by unpayable debt cannot ascend. By tying our very right to exist to an endless cycle of financial obligation and engineered scarcity, they hack into our spiritual architecture. I look back at my own life, the years I spent plugged into their matrix, terrified of missing a payment, terrified of losing a status symbol I never really needed, terrified of not being enough. We run on their hamster wheels, sacrificing our time, our families, and our peace of mind to appease algorithms that were designed from the start to ensure we never, ever win. We have normalized a state of perpetual anxiety, mistaking the heavy chains of consumer debt for the shiny bracelets of success. The drifter leans against the cold, weeping metal of the bulkhead, a deep sorrow washing over him. He sees the spiritual bankruptcy that powers the glittering skyscrapers above. The debt merchants thrive by convincing us that we owe them our lives, that our sins, our failures, and our financial shortfalls make us fundamentally unworthy of freedom. They enforce a merciless law of exact consequence, a ledger of rights and wrongs where mercy is mathematically impossible. But as he watches the white-suited bureaucrats coldly process another broken soul, a defiant fire begins to burn in his chest. He remembers the ancient book hidden in his coat. He remembers the shocking, revolutionary truth recorded in its pages, a truth that completely nullifies the entire economic and spiritual foundation of this corrupt empire. The system's power relies entirely on the illusion that our debt must be paid by our own suffering. But the cowboy knows about the cosmic loophole. Recognizing the sheer, terrifying scale of this spiritual bankruptcy forces him to remember the one cosmic event that the empire tried so desperately to erase from the historical databanks forever. Long before humanity took to the stars, before we built towering monoliths of glass and steel in the vacuum of space, a definitive transaction took place on a dusty, blood-stained hill. The cowboy closes his eyes, allowing the chaotic noise of the lower levels to fade away, accessing a forbidden memory etched deeply into his genetic code. The ruling archons of this world operate purely on a system of transactional logic: an eye for an eye, a credit for a credit, blood for blood. Into that rigid, merciless matrix stepped a figure of unfathomable power, who possessed the ability to shatter the empire with a single spoken word, yet chose a path that completely broke the algorithm of human history. He did not come wielding plasma cannons or leading an armada of starships. He entered the system bearing the ultimate, incomprehensible cheat code of unconditional sacrifice. The drifter visualizes the cross, not as a static religious symbol hung on a church wall, but as a violent, glorious collision of dimensions. It was the moment the architect of the universe willingly let the debt merchants tally up every ounce of pain, every failure, every broken promise, and every sin ever committed across the expanse of time, and placed the entire unbearable weight of that cosmic ledger upon his own shoulders. The system thought it was executing a rebel. It thought it was silencing the ultimate threat to its authority. It did not realize it was absorbing a divine virus of grace that would permanently rewrite the foundational code of reality. When he proclaimed that it was finished, he did not mean a life was ending. He meant the debt was completely, irrevocably cleared. This profound realization hits the cowboy like a physical shockwave every single time. It completely changes the landscape of the war. If the ultimate payment has already been made in blood, then the terrifying ledger the debt merchants hold over humanity is nothing but a forged document. The guilt, the shame, and the relentless pressure to earn our right to exist are all massive psychological bluffs. We walk around in these modern times carrying mountains of existential dread, punishing ourselves for not being perfect in a world designed to break us. We let the corporate overlords and the societal expectations crucify our self-worth daily. But the truth is, the chains we feel so heavily around our necks are already unlocked. We are just too conditioned by the trauma of the system to simply push the heavy metal door open and step out into the blinding light of grace. Armed with the undeniable burning proof of this grace, the drifter finally knows that the prison doors have been unlocked from the inside all along, and the time for hiding in the shadows has come to an end. He pushes himself away from the rusted bulkhead, a new, determined rhythm to his footsteps. He isn't walking like a hunted man anymore. He moves like a conqueror walking through a defeated city. He heads toward the docking bays, where his battered, untrackable ship waits in the freezing dark. He isn't leaving Sector 4 to run away and find a quiet place to hide. He is going to power up the massive, illegal broadcast arrays strapped to the hull of his vessel. He is going to amplify the ancient frequency buried in his leather-bound book and blast it across every restricted channel, every corporate feed, and every encrypted military network from here to the galactic core. This is the ultimate Exodus protocol. The system only maintains its crushing grip on your reality as long as you grant it your consent. They can build their walls as high as the atmosphere, they can manipulate the economy, and they can try to drug your mind into a comfortable apathy, but they cannot stop a soul that has suddenly realized it is immortal. The cowboy climbs into the cockpit, flipping a series of heavy analog switches that the digital overlords cannot hack. The engines roar to life, a deep, guttural vibration that shakes the dust from the ceiling of the hangar. He looks out through the scratched viewport at the massive, spinning infrastructure of the space station, seeing it for what it truly is, a fragile house of cards waiting for a strong wind. This story is not just a piece of science fiction, my friends. This is the exact moment we are living in right now on this Earth. The illusion is fracturing. The institutional machine is desperately trying to tighten its grip because it knows that humanity is starting to remember its divine origin. You have a choice to make as the darkness deepens. You can continue to drink their synthesized comfort, keeping your head down, hoping the machine eats you last. Or you can tune your heart back to the frequency of the Creator. You can accept the radical, terrifying freedom of grace, knowing that your debt is paid and your soul belongs to the eternal. As the drifter's ship tears out of the docking bay, leaving a trail of blue fire against the endless black, a voice crackles over the unauthorized comms, breaking through the static. It is a message for anyone brave enough to listen. Thank you for walking through this darkness with us today. If this broadcast struck a chord in your spirit, share this transmission, stand firm in the truth, and keep your eyes on the stars. This is at Bible Tales US 07, reminding you that the empire is falling, but the word remains forever. Stay awake, and we will see you in the next transmission. In this gripping journey through a neon-lit dystopia, we followed a lone drifter who dared to carry the ultimate contraband, the ancient, living truth of God's Word. Surrounded by a society suffocating under digital distractions, engineered debt, and hollow illusions, he recognized the ruling empire for what it truly was, a spiritual prison designed to keep humanity disconnected from its divine origins. The debt merchants thrive on our anxiety, feeding off the lie that we must forever earn our worth and pay for our failures through endless, agonizing struggle. Yet, the drifter remembered the cosmic cheat code, the unconditional sacrifice made on a blood-stained hill centuries ago. This divine transaction shattered the merciless algorithm of karma and debt, proving that our spiritual ledger has already been wiped clean by grace. Armed with this revolutionary reality, the cowboy did not flee into the shadows. Instead, he ignited an Exodus protocol, broadcasting this liberating frequency to the stars. His journey is a powerful metaphor for our modern existence. We are currently living in a world that desperately tries to numb our souls with synthetic comforts and digital static. The overarching message is clear. The chains of existential dread and societal expectation are unlocked. The empire's power relies entirely on our consent to remain blind. By remembering who we truly are, immortal souls redeemed by profound grace, we can step out of the artificial matrix and walk in the absolute freedom of the Creator's truth. True freedom is not found by conforming to the relentless demands of modern society or climbing the exhausting ladders of materialism. The ultimate lesson is that your spiritual debt has already been paid in full through unconditional grace. You are not defined by your past mistakes, your financial status, or the unrealistic expectations imposed upon you by a broken world. You are a child of the Creator, and your worth is inherent, eternal, and absolute. Disconnect to reconnect. Carve out intentional moments of silence each day. Put away your glowing screens, silence the digital noise, and spend time in prayer or reading the Word. Tune your mind back to the Creator's frequency. Reject the ledger of shame. Stop punishing yourself for not being perfect. When feelings of unworthiness, anxiety, or guilt arise, remind yourself that the ultimate sacrifice has already cleared your ledger. Extend to yourself the exact same grace that God has already given you. Live as a conqueror. Stop walking through life as a hostage to your circumstances or economic pressures. Make decisions based on faith and purpose rather than fear and mere survival. Step out of the shadows, live authentically, and refuse to give your consent to the illusions of this world. What is one digital distraction or worldly pressure that you are going to boldly break free from this week? Please share your thoughts and goals in the comments section below so we can all draw inspiration from each other's journeys. If this transmission resonated with your spirit, please subscribe to the channel. Your support is what gives us the motivation to keep producing and sharing these powerful, eye-opening messages. Stand firm in the truth, and we will see you in the next video.